Hello, this is Manesh Patel from the EII Capital Group. Today is November 22, 2010. This is our weekly Ichimoku analysis for the currency market. We're going to cover all the currencies. Sorry for the one-day delay, but we were actually out in Traders Expo in Vegas. Anyways, before we begin, let's go for our normal procedures. Just our disclaimer. This states basically everything in this video is for educational use only. All charts are either in Thinkorswim, TradeStation, or FreeStockCharts.com. Here are my contact details. Please go to our website, eiicapital.com. We've actually reformed it. Once you register, you actually have access to all our free videos now instead of waiting for us to come back to you. Also, you can follow us on Ichimoku Trading. The new website will also have the heat map up and running by next week too, and you can get a glimpse of the new heat map in just a moment. Okay, so let's go straight to the heat map. We've changed the heat map a little. We still have the same rating system, which is basically 5 to 8 being bullish, -5 to -8 being bearish. What we've done is we have everything on one line. D0 denotes the daily time frame, the current rating today. D5 denotes the rating for the daily time frame 5 days ago. So you could see exactly what the rating system was 5 days ago and what it is today. W0 is basically the rating system for the current weekly rating, and W1 could tell you what the rating system was last week. So what we're doing is we're kind of showing you what the rating systems were for these last week to kind of show you exactly what they've changed and how they've changed. And then, of course, we give you the daily force settlement values for the Ichimoku rules. Okay. So if you look here on the daily time frame, if you look here, we're mainly, before we only had D0 and W0, which were daily and weeklies. And if you can see, there's no consistency across except for New Zealand USD. Look at New Zealand USD. Weekly's at 8. Last week it was at 8. This week it's basically at 7. And look, last week it was at 4. So this thing is getting momentum back on the daily time frame. It went to borderline conditions and now it's actually starting to get strong again. So definitely look at New Zealand USD. If you look at US CAD, it's bearish, and you could see that the daily really hasn't changed at all. The weekly, if you look at the weekly time frame, the weekly's got a little weaker, okay, and so forth. So you kind of get an idea. We will be putting out a video for the new heat map and how to use it. So be patient with us. But again, we're just going to go through here. Look, Australian yen, it's still good to the strong side. So we'll look at that one, and then if you scroll down, you really don't see anything else that's consistent except New Zealand CAD. So New Zealand is hot across the board, you could see. And then also pound New Zealand is strong. So New Zealand currency is definitely strong right now. And you could see that it's been strong last week too. Okay, so let's go straight to our charts and let's start moving forward. Let's go look at Euro USD as we normally do on a weekly time frame. If you look at the weekly time frame, we've basically drawn our lines here. We have alerts here. We've been drawing our lines here, and we can draw our resistance line. Again, we had our resistance lines here, right there, and then we kind of waited, wanting a pullback. Wanted to see exactly what would happen once it gets to here. On a weekly time frame, last week it got to there, and then it went back up, but never went and crossed above the Tinkinson at all. And I can zoom in for you here. So it never went and crossed above the Tinkinson at all. So it never crossed above the Tinkinson at all. So we kind of wait and see what happens. But right now, prices between the Tinkinson and the Cajunson, which is not good. But you know, we're kind of wanting a pullback even more, much as possible as we can, before this thing starts taking up. It is setting up to go higher. As you can see, the future clouds now turning bullish. Starting to, and the Chicago here is actually just kind of consolidating, but it is still bullish, and it's got a thick cloud, and the more it just sits there, goes sideways and moves up, it's going to get to this area here where it then can break out. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly where this thing is going to be in the next couple of weeks. But right now it's between the Tinkinson and Cajunson, so it's not tradable at all on the weekly. Okay, let's go look down the daily time frame. We're just waiting for the charts to load. If you look at the daily time frame, we're basically in the cloud now. Tinkinson, Cajunson is bearish. The future cloud is bullish, and Chicago is bearish. So we got conflict among all the time frames. We're at least expecting this now to kind of get to the bottom of the cloud here or here. Let's just put an alert here, which is also the last high here. So we're expecting it to at least get down to there, and then we'll see what happens with the Euro USD. So there's a boundary conditions here of 38.72, and then the bottom side of 38.51. So we think it's going to range in there, and sooner or later it's going to break out of one of those two. Our guess is it's just going to pretty much consolidate, come to this bottom area here, and then pop out, and then probably try to go higher. But only time will tell before we could really see exactly what will happen. But there's no trade right now as far as that's concerned. Let's look at the pound USD. If you look at the pound USD, it's just basically consolidating on a weekly time frame. However, this thing, we got an alert at the top side. If it does sit there and start making a move and gets this alert at 62.41 and breaks that, it does have a tendency of starting a trend to go up close to another 400 pips, all the way up to 68.36. So we definitely have to keep a watch on this one. But the weekly is just consolidating, and it does look like it's setting up to go bearish in the near future. But we have to wait and be patient and see what happens. So we've definitely got an alert here. I'm going to move that alert a little more down lower. So definitely look for the alert to be triggered on, and we'll post it on the Ichimoku trading on Twitter. Okay, that's there. Let's go to US yen. Remember, US yen for months has been bearish. Let's go look at it on a weekly time frame. Where do we stand? We finally last week closed above the Tinkinson again, and this week we look like hopefully we'll stay above the Tinkinson. If we do, then there has a high possibility of getting all the way up to this Cajunson, which is 86.54, which will be a pullback for the bearish trend. Okay, don't think this is bullish trend yet on a weekly, but it's basically a counter trend move, which is a pullback. If you look at the daily time frame, we're still not above the cloud right now. As you can see, we got a marker here at 82.76, waiting for a pullback there. Once it pulls back there, then we think that this thing will go higher and break through. So we really are kind of bullish in a counter trend mode on the US yen. But we want to wait to see till we get a pullback around to at least 82.30.76, and then start and going up to this pivot, which is 83.75, break it and keep on going high. And the reason why this thing's been going down for such a long time is definitely due for a major correction, which we're waiting for. Let's go look at New Zealand USD, where New Zealand is very, very strong. Let's go look at the weekly time frame. You can see the weekly time frame. It's pulled back to the Tinkinson. So far this week, we're kind of close to here. We're still above the Tinkinson, so we're still a bullish trend right now. In fact, this is a major support level here, which is a resistance level here that we broke through. So we're kind of just testing that thing away right now. So just because of the little down action today doesn't mean that we're basically the bullish trend is over. If you look at the daily time frame, we're between the Tinkinson and Cajunson. However, the Cajunson is holding. So you can't sit there and go bearish yet because there's no signs yet for this thing to go down, and you can't go bullish yet because there's no sign of a continuation trend. So the best thing to do is just to be patient and wait. Okay. And let's go look at pound, BBP, New Zealand. That was another currency pair that was strong. If you look at that, New Zealand still strong there on a weekly daily time frame. This one looks a little weaker than the New Zealand USD. Reason why is Chicago's getting close to price, which we don't like at all. So if this thing consolidates for a little more while, definitely the bearish trend is going to be popped out, and it's not going to go at all. If you look at the weekly time frame, we got a double bottom here. So the weekly depends on what happens now. Is if it crosses the Cajunson, that basically double bottom is saying that this trend may be over and we're down for a major correction now. But if it breaks the pivot low here, which is that 2.0297, then we do have a tendency of a trend continuation. Only time will tell, but right now we just got to be patient and wait. We're definitely looking at US yen going long and pound USD going long once they trigger on the levels that we're looking for, but nothing yet. Okay. So have a good week in trading with currencies. If you have any questions, please post them and let us